Here we go.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome. Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds and I are pleased to be joined today by Iowa Board of Educational Examiners Director D.T. McGee and Council Bluffs Special Education Teacher Brooke Johnson. As you know, I signed the Home Base Iowa Act into law last year on Memorial Day, after it had won broad-based bipartisan support in the Iowa legislature. The focus of the bill was to offer members of the service an incentive to bring their skills and leadership to Iowa to fill quality careers in our state. Since the bill was signed into law, Home Base Iowa has brought 600 veterans to the state, and over 24,000 jobs are posted on the Home Base Iowa Jobs Bank. Simply put, the mission of Home Base Iowa Act is to ensure that members of the military don't have to worry about finding a job after they leave their service. But it also recognizes that relocation to Iowa may depend on a spouse's ability to find employment as well. So I'm pleased to welcome Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds to the podium to further discuss this issue.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. Indeed, the Home-Based Iowa initiative doesn't just apply to veterans, it applies to their family as well. Iowa community colleges and Regent universities are granting in-state tuition to the spouses, the dependents of the veterans, in addition to the veterans themselves. Iowa private colleges and universities are also stepping up to help veterans in their transition to civilian life. Grandview University, for example, offers military veterans tuition at a reduced rate, and they also maintain an office at Camp Dodge. The state is examining how the licensing process can be streamlined for veterans and their families to apply their experience and their training gained elsewhere towards a certification process. Veterans and their families shouldn't be burdened by additional government bureaucracy and paperwork when the skills and training needed have already been obtained. We're pleased to highlight that the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners legislative report today, and really the positive reaction that they're getting from veterans and their spouses. Even before the Home-Based Iowa initiative was signed into law, the board was looking ahead by adding language concerning military education training and service credit to assist in the portability of teacher licensure for veterans and their spouses. So I am really pleased to bring to the podium D.T. McGee, that is going to give you much more information on what they've been working on at the Board of Education Examiners. D.T.?
Well, I want to thank all of you today for coming to hear about the work of the Board of Educational Examiners to eliminate licensing barriers for qualified veterans and military spouses who want to teach in Iowa. The Board of Educational Examiners is an independent teacher licensing board whose goal is to establish and enforce rigorous standards for Iowa educational practitioners. It is not unusual for current or recent members of the armed forces, including our own Iowa National Guard, to have served multiple deployments in active war zones. It is only right that the service and sacrifice of these men and women and their family members be recognized through education licensure rules that are streamlined, fully acknowledge their military skills and schooling, and are offered at a reduced price. I want to thank Governor Branstad and Lieutenant Governor Reynolds for supporting this work and for furthering it through the Home Base Iowa Act. It is not unusual for a teacher moving from one state to another to take several college courses and complete that state's battery of examinations in order to be fully licensed as a teacher. Iowa teachers are required to take only one battery of tests during their teaching career and 6 college credits every 5 years. Because military families move often, a military spouse may be required to take new tests and complete multiple college credits every 2 years. The financial and emotional expense of this process takes its toll, and many military spouses end up putting their teaching careers on hold or quitting teaching altogether. The licensure piece is just one facet of the Home Base Iowa Act, designed to increase opportunity for Iowa's veterans and encourage other veterans to make Iowa their home. This legislation is a win-win for both the military veterans and for the state of Iowa, which reaps the benefits of our veterans' unique skills and their desire to continue to serve. The military exchange license is issued at a reduced cost. It allows military spouses to come into Iowa and work for 3 years without having to take additional tests or coursework. The board is excited to be able to offer this license, which is one of the first in the nation to address the issue of licensure portability for military spouses. The military exchange license went into effect in August of 2013 with the governor's full support. With the advent of the Home Base Iowa Act, these rules have been expanded to include all veterans and their spouses and ensures that the veterans receive full benefit for their skills in military schooling. It is only right that our military veterans and their spouses would have a smoother process to obtain Iowa teacher licensure. On a side note, I want to thank Dr. Mary Lou Nosko, who has been the driving force behind this rule change at the Board of Educational Examiners. Dr. Nosko is an Army veteran who served our country for 19 years and is here today. She's back in the back. In 2014, 24 individuals received military exchange licenses, 5 veterans and 19 spouses. 2 are teaching in other states, and 2 went back to college to work on their master's degrees. Of the remaining 20, 7 are subbing or working as paraeducators, commonly called teacher aides or associates, and hope to secure full-time employment for the next school year. 13 are full-time teachers in Iowa. 8 of them are working in federally designated shortage areas, teaching French, English as a second language, family and consumer science, and special education. We recognize the contributions these individuals who are well-traveled and have taught in a wide variety of schools bring to Iowa classrooms. More impressive than the numbers are the stories of the impact this license has had on these educators and their families. Many have expressed their gratitude for a streamlined process that allows them to focus on their families and teaching, not on additional coursework and tests. Today, we are fortunate to have one of these teachers with us. Brooke Johnson is the wife of an Air Force major assigned to Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska. She received her bachelor's degree from Capital University in Ohio and her master's degree from the University of Arizona. She has 9 years of teaching experience and has been licensed in 5 states. More importantly, Brooke is currently working in Iowa as a special education teacher for the Council Bluffs School District. I am proud to introduce Brooke Johnson.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I have taught, as Mr. McGee said, in 5 states over the past 9 years. Due to my husband being active duty Air Force, we get orders every 2 to 3 years, which is very intimidating when you go and look at the list of states and then you look at the licensure process and have to figure out how many tests I'm going to have to take, how many hundreds up to thousands of dollars it can cost. When we got orders to Offutt Air Force Base, my husband was deployed in Iraq, and we had 90 days for me to get a job, find a house, and move here. As soon as I Googled teaching in Iowa and saw the military exchange license, it was a breath of fresh air. It was so nice to just receive reciprocity for all of my hard work through the past 9 years in other states. It has encouraged me to encourage other military spouses to apply to live in Iowa versus the Nebraska side. No offense to Nebraska fans. To support their education system due to the reciprocity process and how much easier it has been. It is a huge relief to our family so that on the weekends I can spend time with my daughter and my husband versus studying for tests and taking exams. Thank you.
Brooke, thank you, and D.T. McGee, thank you. This is an example of how what we did last year is really making a difference in the lives of people and making a difference for the teachers and others that are coming to the state of Iowa. So with that, we'd open to your questions.
How do you spell Brooke Johnson? What do you teach?
Brooke Johnson, Johnsson. I teach special education in Council Bluffs.
How many teachers have got licensure or got this expedited licensure result program in 2014?
Yes, in 2014, I believe the number is 24. And this information is also listed in the report that was distributed today. So we have 24 individuals received licenses, and currently we have, I believe, 13 who are employed in Iowa school districts full-time.
I would also point out, we're phasing in this new teacher leadership program. And as a result, we're seeing a lot more teachers being hired right now than has been the normal circumstance. So I think there's a real opportunity for more as we phase this in. This is the first year. They've already announced the schools that will be receiving the grant for the second year implementation. There'll be a third year as well. So this is a good time, and it's a great opportunity to show the opportunities that are available for military spouses as well as people leaving the military. Other questions?
Kind of going on the education
Yep.
topic, talk about bullying and what you hope to do with that this year in election session.
That will be one of the major issues that I'll be addressing in the condition of the state speech tomorrow. Lieutenant Governor and I and my wife, Chris, went to 3 different schools last fall, Sioux City, North Lynn, and Marshalltown. We met with students and teachers and administrators and parents and legislators and community leaders. And I guess what we heard was clearly that students want to stand up to bullying. They want the state to provide additional tools to the school districts to deal with it. And we have looked at ways that we can perfect and improve on what we recommended last year. The bill passed both houses last year, but in different forms. That the House amended the Senate bill and the Senate never took it up again. But we're very hopeful this year that it can get done. And we think there's broad-based support for it, especially from students and from the schools.
What was your conversation like with Teresa?
Actually, Teresa contacted my chief of staff, Matt Hench, on Friday and indicated that she intended to retire on Sunday. Matt informed me that that's what she wanted to do. We would have preferred that she'd stayed on, but we accepted the fact that she wanted to do that. And so I want to say that I appreciate the good work that she did. And I think she managed the Workforce Development Department very well. It's a big and difficult agency. There's been substantial federal cuts, but despite that, we were able to implement things like Skilled Iowa. She helped us develop Home Base Iowa and the National Career Readiness Certificate Program, which we are now offering in every school in the state. And so I think she did a good job, and I'm very appreciative of her service. And I'm also very confident that Beth Townsend, who inherited a big mess at the Civil Rights Commission and is a very disciplined, focused individual, has done a great job. She's very well respected for fairness. I hear good things about her from both the minority community and the business community. And she's now the acting director of workforce development.
So you had hoped to nominate Wayland for another term?
Well, I had hoped that she would continue to serve. I heard there was, we know that she was under attack from Senate Democrats. We didn't feel the accusations were fair and that she'd done a good job.
It's a little unusual to put a 2 days notice.
I'm not going to second guess her. I just want to say I fully appreciate and respect her commitment to public service and the great work she did while she was there. As you know, our unemployment rate has gone down dramatically, and we've seen each year, the last 4 years, the cost for workers' comp, the cost for unemployment taxes to Iowa businesses has gone down. And she's also implemented a lot of new technology that has provided better services to people seeking employment.
Did you choose Beth Thompson because she's inheriting the mess that was?
No, she inherited the mess at civil rights.
Like,
And she-
choose her because of her track record.
Well, because of her track record, first of all, when I chose her to head the Civil Rights Department, I didn't know her really well. She was a plaintiff's attorney, which a lot of business people were a little suspect of a plaintiff's attorney, but she also has a military background, and she has a great sense of fairness and a great sense of duty and focus on doing things right and doing things well. And her track record at civil rights is phenomenal. She took a dysfunctional agency where you had several staff people who were spending their time on their state computers playing computer games and making up nasty nicknames for their coworkers. She put in place work rules, documented their misconduct, dismissed them. They filed for unemployment. She successfully resisted that and replaced them with competent, quality people, eliminated a huge backlog. And the result is got the Civil Rights Commission's reputation has been improved dramatically. They've been a record of fairness and commitment. And I hear compliments from both minority community and from the business community about the work she's done there. Now, Workforce Development is a bigger agency, but I feel that she has the knowledge, the experience, and the ability to take on this new challenge and to do it well. Well, I want to wait until I've had the opportunity to evaluate her and how she gets started there, and I want to have a personal interview to discuss that responsibility and the challenges that she faces. It's not an easy agency to manage, but I feel in light of the tremendous job she's done at civil rights, and this is something that she has an interest in, that we will give her every opportunity to be considered for not only being the acting director, but eventually being the permanent director. I didn't give her any marching orders. I have great confidence in her ability, and I've seen the work that she's done. I've actually had her speak to retreats of other department heads to share with them the mess that she inherited in civil rights and how she thoughtfully and systematically went about correcting it and changing the agency. And it's well, everything, even from the physical appearance of the agency. I mean, when she inherited, there was all kinds of stuff stacked all over. There were people that didn't dress appropriately. There were, as I said, there were people that were playing computer games on their state computers and making up nasty nicknames for their coworkers. I can't, and you had a huge backlog, some cases almost a decade old. That's all been changed. Now things are done in a very fair, thoughtful, efficient way. And so I think she's been an outstanding department head, and this is an opportunity for her to take on another challenge.
Governor, how limited are the state resources going into the budget process? Will there have to be a budget cut?
Well, we always have to be vigilant about controlling the size and cost of state government. Over 4 years ago, we inherited a big mess, and we had a lot of one-time money that had been used for ongoing expenses. Now they'd used over $550 million of one-time stimulus money for Medicaid, for instance, which is an ongoing entitlement program. And of course, as you know, because Iowa's done better than other states, our cost for Medicaid, we have to pick up a bigger share, and the federal government is picking up a smaller share. And that's happened each year, and that will happen again for this coming year. Despite that, I think we've been thoughtful and prudent. We put together a 5-year plan, and I intend tomorrow to submit a 2-year budget, and with a 5-year plan that's sustainable over the long term, that meets the obligations and the commitments we made to both property tax relief and to the education reform and to all the other things that we've done to improve education. So it's a tight budget, but I think it's a very fair budget, and I think it's clearly something that's sustainable. And I want to remind the legislature, we can't go back into those bad old days of making unsustainable promises and then having massive across the board cuts like we had in 2009, or underfunding school aid, or only partially funding things like indigent defense for part of the year instead of the whole year. We're not going to let that happen again. We're going to make sure we have a sustainable budget that meets the priorities of the people of Iowa.
Is the House Republicans' talk of income tax cuts then unrealistic?
Well, remember, we passed a provision that sets up a taxpayers trust fund. So if revenue exceeds expectations, there will be income tax reductions. And in 2013, when President Obama insisted on raising income taxes at the federal level, that resulted, because of Iowa having full federal deductibility, in a state income tax reduction. So we have made progress in reducing the Iowa income tax. Even more significant is, and as you know, when we did the property tax bill, that included income tax reductions and the earned income tax credit, as well as the property tax provisions. We want to fully fund the commitments we've made, and we have a standing appropriation to local governments to fulfill our commitments on the multi-year property tax relief. And we've gotten very good feedback from the collaboration between the Department of Revenue and county governments in implementing the commercial and industrial property tax relief.
You've got a bunch of appointments. You've got workforce development, John Baldwin is retiring, Larry Noble has retired. Are there going to be any, is Chuck Palmer staying on at DHS?
Well,
How about other ones?
well, first of all, I've already appointed Roxanne Ryan
Right.
as the acting commissioner of public safety. She has great background and experience. And again, we will interview her also. But I feel real good, and the feedback we've gotten from the Department of Public Safety has been very positive with regard to that. And with regard to these others, we just thoughtfully and systematically, when a retirement comes up, we try to choose the very best person for that position. So with regard to Chuck Palmer, we've had no discussions about that. I think Chuck is a very dedicated public servant who, spent 12 years in the nonprofit sector working for Human Services before I asked him to come back to run that agency. And that's a big and difficult agency, but he's done a great job. And I have full confidence in him as well as the others that we have in these key positions. And with regard to the commissioner that will be in charge of workers' comp, I think we're very close to making that decision. We've been very careful, and we have an acting commissioner there. Ms. McGovern is in charge of that right now, and she's had a lot of years of experience, but I hope to make a decision on that in the near future. Yes.
And that sounds a little bit cliche, but how does it feel going into your sixth?
Well, it's great. First of all, I love this state, and I'm very honored and very appreciative that the people have given Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds and I a great vote of confidence to continue to serve them. We like to say we're not done yet. We've got a lot more we want to accomplish. We're very appreciative that the legislature has worked with us in the last 4 years. With a split legislature, we've accomplished a lot, and we expect to accomplish hopefully even more this next 4 years. We want to keep this sense of bipartisan cooperation and working together to focus on Iowa's future. So I'm excited about it, and I want to do the very best I can, and I will work hard every day that I'm here.
Governor, you mentioned that you'll submit a balanced budget.
Yeah.
The anti-bullying legislation will be a big part of your speech tomorrow. What other major themes are you going to touch on?
Well, infrastructure is going to be a major theme. You know that we've already talked about our goal to connect every acre, and we want to see high-speed internet available everywhere in Iowa. I've been honoring and recognizing communities that have done great things there. Cedar Falls, where the president is coming, is one of the first ones that I recognize. I think it's on my schedule to be in Ames on Wednesday to recognize them for what they've done. And I was just in Grinnell and Knoxville, and Manning came here. That's the first community under 5,000. But, we really literally want to be able to recognize every community in Iowa, and we want every farmer to have access to this high-speed internet for their agricultural, for precision farming, which is so critical for the future.
So no themes, no proposals that we haven't heard before.
Well, there might be, but I'm not gonna talk about it at this press conference today, because you're going to get that information tomorrow. So you're not going to have to wait very long, but there's not going to be any big surprises. And Yet there are some things probably that we haven't talked about that will be included in that speech tomorrow. So there will be a briefing tomorrow morning about the budget and the program. And then, of course, I'll be delivering the speech at 10 o'clock. And it's already been written. I just got to continue to practice it. So we're excited about it, looking forward to it. It's a great honor to be able to serve the people of Iowa, to be able to address a joint session of the Iowa legislature, and we want to make the most of it.
What kind of tone do you want to speak?
Well, I want to set a very positive tone, one of working together and bipartisan cooperation, just as we've done the last 4 years. This is a big contrast to what's going on in Washington. The president, before the Congress even convened, threatened to veto one of their top priorities, which is the Keystone XL pipeline. And it's my understanding in the Senate, they have at least 63 votes for that. Now, I wouldn't do that. As you know, I reserve judgment on all pieces of legislation until I see them in their final form. And I hope the president will reconsider this confrontational approach and instead look at ways that we can work together for this country. Plus, we've got to work together internationally. You look at the tragedy that just occurred in Paris, and the threat that we have from Islamic extremists throughout the world. We live in very dangerous, troubled times. And I think it's critically important that we, as a country, and certainly as a state, come together and work together in a bipartisan way and try to avoid language of confrontation, but instead look at ways that we can work together and accomplish good things. That we just celebrated a great accomplishment of the Home Base Iowa that was passed last year and the implementation of that. And of course, it's not just one thing to pass it, you need to implement it. That's why we're focusing on implementing property tax relief and our teacher leadership and improving education and making sure that Iowa continues to bring good jobs and grow the economy. And obviously agriculture was so critically important to our state. We want it to continue to be profitable and successful and do everything we can to promote and encourage the strength and success of agriculture.
Does the President's broadband initiative dovetail with what we're trying to do in Iowa, or does it?
Well, I don't know what it is. He's coming to Cedar Falls tomorrow on Wednesday, and I'm encouraged that the president recognizes broadband is important and that we do need to have high-speed internet available everywhere. And certainly Cedar Falls has been a leader. We've already recognized them. And so I'm hopeful that what the president says will be supportive and assist us in our efforts to pass our Connect Every Acre initiative here in the state. I don't know. I don't know. I do know that there is a decision that came out of a federal agency in the last year that's been helpful. And I'm hopeful that the president coming to Iowa and speaking about the importance of broadband will also be helpful. So my interest is to work together to avoid confrontation and to try to accomplish as much as we can. And broadband is kind of the infrastructure of the future that we need to address now.
Final question, Rod.
Everybody who attended that meeting Wednesday talking about transportation subject emerged calling it candid and constructive.
Yes, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Very good.
That's what we love to
That's what it
hear.
was.
Everybody's working together, and
Where
that's
does it go from there? What are the prospects early of coming to some agreement?
well, I think if we continue to be candid and constructive and we work together, good things can happen. Now, this is a complicated and difficult issue. And so I expect there will be several follow-up meetings. But I am hopeful that it can be addressed in a bipartisan way and that at the end of the day, hopefully relatively early in the session, we can see a bipartisan majority in both houses approve the funding needed to meet the needs of the roads and bridges of the state of Iowa and in the road use tax fund and doing it on a pay-as-you-go basis.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.